Welcome back to Game Devs Play Games, where we play Final Fantasy 15 in the Mamelon Thicket. I have a stuffed tonberry, like an actual little.
He does. I've seen it.
Plush tonberry. I'm gonna bring it in next recording session, and we're gonna. So I love to scare Rachel with it.
Well, I mean that's its sole purpose. Is to be terrifying. So
she walked out of the bathroom the other day with it on the floor right in front of her.
Except she's never really played Final Fantasy, so...
Yeah, but I've showed her videos from, multiple... Why can't I scan you?
So you... Well, because you already have scanned it.
Oh, wow. Oh, right. Gladio has an ability where he'll just, randomly scan people.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Unlock. All right.
So you've set the seeds of fear into Rachel with the tonberries.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We were talking about this... in between episodes about how most Final Fantasies do a good job at making tonberry scary, and then there are some that are just doesn't really work. What was it, 13? Where they just are there, and you're this isn't really scary.
Yeah, it was too active, I think is what it was. It was it moved around a lot and it didn't do anything. So
and we brought the context of that to 15 because we were how do you think tonberries are going to work in 15 if they exist, which they probably do.
Yeah, because the fear of the tonberries in the game is that for some reason you weren't able to avoid them.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't able to run away from them, so you were just stuck there fighting them.
Which in this game is kind of hard to do because
you could just walk right out. I could literally walk past these enemies.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you weren't able to run away from them. All right, nothing works against them. So
right, because it's a flan.
Owie.
Pile of goo.
So yeah, you weren't able to avoid them, so you'd have to fight them, and they would do this attack, right? Where for people, I guess, who don't know what I'm talking about, it's this little creature in this hood that will attack you, and they give you a timer. They take a couple steps toward you, and then once they get up to your party, they do some attack that kills everybody simultaneously, or they'll kill a person one at a time with an instant death strike, and it's terrifying.
And there's always small too, right? They're the creepy little green dudes with a knife and a lantern.
Yeah.
And you're you see it and you're well, it's creepy, but also kind of cute.
Yeah.
And then it stabs and kills one of your party members, and you're oh no, oh god,
yeah.
What have I gotten into?
The first time you ever see one in Final Fantasy, it is definitely a TPK, because you don't know what to expect. But the thing, I remember the reason they were terrifying in FF6 is, you couldn't run from them, or maybe you could, but you're sitting there trying to fight them. And they would take steps toward you, but the thing at the same time was they would still attack you on their way there, but doing basic attacks. But their basic attacks are still terrifyingly strong. So they're sitting there attacking you, and it's not like you can just go hog wild and do a crap ton of damage to them, because you actually did have to worry about the amount of health that you had.
Is there a lore for tonberries? Now I'm really curious. If there's
I don't know. If it's a Final Fantasy exclusive thing, that's actually I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but even if it's a Final Fantasy exclusive thing, I wonder if there's an internal lore to them. Tonberries are this lost soul of a murderer, someone who killed someone in cold blood.
That would be pretty awesome.
Right? I'm gonna look it up. Not Tom Brady.
I like Tom Brady.
Space phone isn't always the greatest thing in the world.
Just Tonberry had to choke a bitch. Oh, that's good.
Sneaky beings
that
that
Wayne
slowly...
Brady, but still, whatever.
That's true. Sleepy beings that creep through the darkness carrying knives and lanterns. Their innocent stare stabs through opponents, pushing them over the brink of despair. That's a wonderful description. What's that from? Dissidia. Wow, one of the few good things.
Hey, I am excited for Dissidia 3. I probably shouldn't be, but I am.
I never played 2. I played the first Dissidia that was on PSP, and, honestly, it was fun. I wasn't a fan of the level design, because it was the precursor to the level design of Final Fantasy 13. It was a lot of really just abstract environments that were kind of nonsensical.
Really doing, yeah. No, actually, that's a really good comparison. It reminds me. Oh, there's a
And it didn't bother me as much in Dissidia, right? Because it was like, it's a fighting game. The environment doesn't matter as much. But then I got even angrier when I saw 13.
Well, I mean, it's an active fighting game. You could argue that the environment is more important. But instead it was just like a bunch of like plain levels with some weird rails that you could slide around on. And you're like, where are these coming from? And what the hell is this?
That's pretty fair.
So they could have done better. But there were some interesting levels. I really like the second one because they included Kain from Final Fantasy IV, who is still one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters.
I don't remember.
Kain was just he was the Dragoon. He's like where jumping really started to hit its stride. The idea of like jumping up in the air. And so yeah, by the way, we hit a camp area.
Oh, sweet.
Right?
All right, origin of tonberry. The tonberry is possibly derived from stories of will-o-wisps, ghostly lights or lamps, said to be the spirits of dead or other beings that lead travelers astray. It may also be derived from stories of jack-o'-lantern, which are themselves derived from stories of will-o-wisps, a man who tricked the devil into never taking his soul, and as such, when he died, there was no place for him to go, and was condemned to forever wander the world with a lantern lit by an ember from the flames of the underworld. This goes on for a little while, but that was from the Final Fantasy Wikia.
All right.
So, I mean, kind of what I was hoping for. Although I really like the idea of it being like someone that tricked death and was just like, now I died, but death never took me, so now I'm stuck here. I'm gonna kill more people.
That's pretty awesome. So, tonberries, they're awesome. So I'm gonna bring it in. That looks so gross. I mean, like it looks realistic, but I wouldn't eat it in real life, so that looks gross to me. I'm not a fish fan. Go and get that Trevor Lee.
You and I used to love sushi, though.
I know. I loved raw fish when I could eat it.
Until you lost 2 organs.
Yeah, can't eat it anymore.
Sad day. Now I just have to eat sushi with Jen.
Oh, sad. What a sad thing.
So, anyone that's been following me on Twitter, or even GDPG on Twitter, because I think I mentioned it on there, because I've been really bad at responding to comments lately, but there's a good reason for it. I was at GDC, and he doesn't respond to comments because he doesn't really go on to the YouTube channel very much.
Yeah.
But I was at GDC, so I learned some interesting tidbits about Final Fantasy 15.
Let's hear it.
I mean, it's...
Give us something good to talk about, because we've only screwed around. We actually don't have a question of the day as is yet. Just want to point that out.
We could ask about tonberries.
I mean, I guess we haven't seen them. We haven't even seen them.
Challenge of the day. How would you design a tonberry in Final Fantasy 15? Because I thought that our conversation before the episode started was fascinating.
I mean, that is true.
And I don't want to reveal what we thought the tonberries would do, because I don't think we said that yet.
I mean, I'm sure you're going to show it in like behind the scenes or something. But
maybe I will. But yeah. I want to remember. That's my challenge
of the day. Right. I mean, that's okay. That's cool. Whatever, man.
But they had a lot of panels for Final Fantasy 15, and some of them were run by like the American Square Enix team, and then probably the better ones were run by the actual Japanese team. But I learned how Promto's camera system works in this game.
Oh.
Because we kind of talked about it before, how like it's kind of weird that you have this companion following you, and like how do they generate these pictures, and like, you know, we were even talking about how like some people have encountered like the texture streaming not catching up to Promto's pictures and things like that. So there actually is a lot of truth behind how the pictures are made with what we're seeing in the game. So what it does is the game actually takes, when we rest at night, we see like 8-9 pictures, right? Something like that.
Usually, I mean, like goes up to 10. So I was just looking at 10.
So behind the scenes, they're actually taking like 40 or 50 pictures, and they're using algorithms basically to score each picture, and then they're kind of weeding out the low score ones, and then they use other algorithms to like make sure that there are as many unique pictures as possible. So like you don't get like all 10 pictures of the same kind of thing. So if like one is like a landscape shot, they're gonna try to not do more landscape shots. They'll try to like do like a profile shot. or like a fun shot, or like a battle shot, things like that. So the algorithms basically
So you're not
choose
getting nothing
variety.
but battle shots.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the more interesting thing is actually how they generate unique photos, because in each photo, the landscape in the background, it's a prefab. So it actually isn't the current environment that the photo was taken in.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But the thing that is consistent is Promto's position to where he's taking a picture of the target. So if Noctis is really close to Promto, when Promto takes a shot, you're more likely going to get a really close-up shot of Noctis. Whereas if, you're like going past the landscape and you see like some monsters way off in the distance, then you're more likely, and Promto takes a picture of it, then, you're going to get the monsters far away rather than close up. So it includes Prompto's position and like the general demeanor of the situation to kind of build the photos. And then obviously like they have the custom like poses and stuff when the picture's actually generated. But it's contextualized based on what's happening too. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But I thought that was really cool.
So that's why you end up getting those odd angles sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it includes things like weather conditions, time of the day, environment, and then all entities that are in the area that would be within the shot. So it's kind of cool how it like clumps these all together to make different
That is
photos.
pretty cool.
And they have a lot of different conditions on like when Prompto is supposed to take shots. I don't remember all of them. It might be in the GDC vault. They released some of those for free, so who knows, they might release that for free. But it was a fun talk. I actually really liked it.
Oh no, I forgot that Mandrake's confused. Oh boy.
Ooh. Yeah, we haven't really seen confusion happening a lot.
Have we not?
I don't think so. We talked about it, because it kind of... What does it do? Does it, like, cause you to run in different directions?
So, it's actually handled rather elegantly. First thing it does is it makes it to where, like, where you would move, you go in the opposite direction. Which is, like, you can adjust fairly quickly. Anybody who's played enough games, like, has seen this type of mechanic where they're like, I'm not going to be fooled by that. And then it will... on top of that, you'll like randomly switch which equipment you're using when you attack. I think you might even have some issues with... Ooh, did I kill? Yes, I did. I think you might even have some issues with what kind of like attack you are using. But yeah, otherwise that's about it. But switching your equipment alone can be enough. Where you're like, oh, I'm not attacking them with the weapon I should be attacking with.
Yeah,
Right,
that
this
makes
guy's
sense.
annoying.
That's kind of fun, actually.
All right, why did you relock on that guy?
I think that might actually be the first affliction we've seen, too, that doesn't directly affect your health.
Oh yeah, because we saw poison before. I think that was it. But
Maybe,
yeah, this is where you start to see some more of those.
That's good, though. I honestly, I'm a little surprised it took this long, because I love those game mechanic kind of changing afflictions.
I've always loved status effects. I think status effects are kind of what determines a good... Well, that's actually kind of strange. Yeah, I think a good status effects kind of determine if it's a good RPG or not. I know that sounds a little ridiculous.
Well, I would say that if it helps determine a good RPG system that adheres to a lot of RPG standards.
Yeah, absolutely. Because without your odd things like status effects that change the way the game is played, it's redundant. You're doing the same thing over and over again. There's really no challenge. And I just realized like the real importance of potions in this game. I don't mean like high potions. I mean like little potions. Like I just use
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. I'm surprised we never talked about this. But while I was playing Final Fantasy, I would actually keep a very heavy supply of mini potions on me just so that I could pull myself out of
out of that state because you lose permanent health. That takes a long time for it to recover. You have to go to a camp or whatever. So like in that regard, I'm just making sure that I'm not losing that permanent health off.
Yep.
Which I know it seems like, oh, I'm just learning it, but I mean, I knew it, but I just didn't really take advantage of it before.
I mean, I feel like that's pretty common with a lot of gamers in general, right? Like, if the game mechanics are intuitive and they kind of like naturally build a tendency, often players will find themselves doing things like that and not really think twice about it. It just kind of seems like an obvious thing. But if you take a step back and you look at it as a game designer, you're like, the design is kind of like guiding the player to, use that behavior just because there's a logical reason to do it. Like, it's an optimal way of playing the game. Yep. I like that, though.
Should probably just gone ahead and made something with lightning when I was here because I knew I was going to.
We have a timed quest?
Do we? A what?
Go.
What are you talking about?
When you're done making the spell, go back to that UI. I saw something weird. It had an exclamation point.
Okay.
I could be crazy, though.
Now, let's see. We have stop. We have... What does this do? Just chain. Just power.
Chain lightning.
I like 4-tooth bristles. 4-tooth bristles. Very easy to get. Good for making spells.
And you have a lot of them.
Yeah. They're easy to get.
Yeah. You have a lot of them.
All right, Chris. I think this will give me 4.
3.
Damn it. All right. That's fine.
It's all good.
Cool.
You have so many magic flasks. Yeah, timed quest. What is that?
What?
Is this new? What?
Marlboro? I don't really want to fight that.
Active chapter 11 and onward. Well, we are not at chapter 11.
Well, that's why we're not.
Whoa, it is a new thing. It changes a quest every day? What's today? Oh, so this is every 4 days? Maybe a week?
Probably a week. Oh. But this is new to me.
Yeah, we just updated the game before we started recording today.
So we're probably a little behind on it, but...
Yeah. Whoa.
I actually haven't played FF15 in a little while, so I actually had to get used to the cams
I feel like it's been forever since we recorded last. Like, last time was maybe 2 weeks ago or longer. We've been at it for a little while. GDC is to blame. I blame GDC.
Yeah.
It's cool, though.
So, yeah, I mean, like, we were talking about status effects, and we're getting a little over here, but,
No, we're not over. We still have 2 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. So then status effects. I think, yeah, as I said before, I think your status effects can, like, really can make or break your game in terms of if it's interesting and unique in its system. And when you start playing an active game like this, Moonfended protects you from confusion. So yeah, when you start to play, or when you start to play an active game like this is, those status effects become challenging, right? Because in previous games, when they were just turn-based, it'd be like, oh, what does confusion do? Sometimes my characters will attack themselves or other people that they shouldn't be, and that's what we're here to fight.
Woo. I mean, that's part of what made Pokemon so successful, in my opinion. Aside from like them knowing how to utilize different elements well and pair up very complex like types. Status effects were hands down one of the more interesting components of the original battle system of Pokemon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and they used them very well. They made a turn-based game seem, complex.
Yes.
When before you played things like Dragon Warrior, you're like,
I wonder if that's one of the reasons why I like Breath of Fire so much. I mean, I like Breath of Fire 4 the most, probably because of how you can combine special abilities and then create very fascinating effects with that, in addition to the status effects that also stack up. It's a wonderful system.
Oh yeah. Actually, one of my favorites was Romancing Saga series. The game was do or die. Like you could die, like your characters could die in one hit. They could also take a few hits. There was a lot of parrying and evading, and because of that, the game would be like, oh, did I dodge it? Oh god, I did. And you would like maybe kill your opponents in one hit, or maybe have to slog at them for a while. The game was like all over the place, but the game you knew when you were outpaced or something like that. But there were the status effects that, like, just throwing them on. Poison was a big deal in that because you would die in, like, 4 poison. Like, in most things, it's like, it's going to take, like, 10 turns to die from poison because it would take 10% off or whatever. But, yeah, your status effects really can determine how your game is played and how it feels because of that. So, and it's also good for theme-wise. I think, like, Borderlands is a good example. They did a really good job with their status effects. They only had certain ones involved.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
And none of them were too redundant. Like, there was setting people on fire, but there wasn't a poison, was there?
There was something along that lines. It was corrosion.
Yeah, but corrosion was about taking away their armor, so it was a different effect.
Exactly, yeah.
Although it was still kind of a reducing damage or health system. But yeah, so it's very important. And the confusion is all right. It's handled fairly well in this. It's elegant. Being stopped or petrified is, I think, virtually the same thing in this game. And it sucks.
Although in other games, being petrified, if you took damage, didn't you just, like, insta-die?
Depends on the game. In a lot of them, you couldn't take damage.
Oh.
You just, if you're
so
petrified...
So it's better to be petrified than it is to
be stopped? Not necessarily, because stop would wear off.
Oh, and petrified didn't?
Wouldn't.
You would just, like,
you would
get
have to
game
have the
over?
item to fix it. Yeah, if your entire party was petrified, game over.
Actually, I think I remember playing, maybe it was a Final Fantasy that did that, and I was like, oh, this was so much more important to have the like, cure for this than I thought.
Oh, yeah. It will hit you when you're not expecting. You're like, I don't need this item. That's why you saw me just, like, buying 10 of all the cure-alls, because one day we're going to run across something that decides to petrify the whole party, and the only way to... Yeah. It's... You learn. You learn.
Well, anyway, that's all we have for this episode. Next time, we're going to fight that dude way back there that's kind of trampling around.
If I'm not mistaken.
Bandersnatch?
Yeah, I think it's a creature from, what's it called? Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a legitimate creature from
It's
books.
it's the thing that chases her. Not the Jabberwock. That's the thing she's hunting. The Bandersnatch is the thing chasing her.
Man, I actually read that book not that long ago. That one's Through the Looking Glass. That's not actually Alice in Wonderland, but it's the same character
universe,
and
same world, same thing. Anyway, yeah, we'll get to that later. Question
of the day. Well, challenge of the day. How would you design the tonberries for Final Fantasy 15? Yeah, I remembered.
I mean,
what?
You said that was an additional challenge.
No. I was just saying, like, that's the challenge of the day.
We haven't even seen them yet.
Exactly. That's why it's a good question.
All right. People who have already played them and got to them, if they're in the game, are going to be like, you just do it like they did it.
Well, then we'll find out the hard way.
I guess we will.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We will see you in the next episode. Bye.